Oliver Hazimeh, director for PRTM, says that there are several fleet segments where it makes much sense to electrify vehicles when measuring life cycle costs and providing perception to the rest of the market.
I think when people look at who will be the early adopters and based on what decisions will they make, buying decisions, purchasing decisions, since the cars are still fairly expensive, you have a big battery in the car, it's a lot of kind of capex up front with hopefully savings down the stream. So you need to have a total cost of ownership kind of mindset, and consumers don't tend yet to have that mindset, right? So it's still more the sticker price. But fleet owners and operators do have that mindset, right? Because they look at cars and say, I own it for 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, and what are my operating expenses and what is my total cost of ownership? So we just finished actually in December with the Electrification Coalition a comprehensive report about the fleet market, where we looked at all segments, class 1 through 7, 8, different government fleets, parcel fleets, etc., sales representative fleets. I mean, there's a whole spectrum of fleets out there, and what's interesting is that when you really look at how the cars are being used and how the total cost of ownership picture can play out, there are certain segments that make a lot of sense to kind of electrify. And so as this industry is really about scale and the importance about scale in the early years, OEMs look at this and say, if I just get 7% adoption of the fleets by 2015, which we think is doable, that's about 200,000 units. Now 200,000 units is not the lion's share of all the adoption, but it's a significant chunk of additional volume that can be added to the mix. So there's an economic argument, while fleets will have a higher priority, so to speak, than what you mentioned before in the past, where it's just an afterthought for fleet owners to think about these cars. In this case, I think fleets will be front and center. You saw Ford announce the Ford Connect, EV Connect. They're going to come out with vans. In Europe, they have already cars for the fleet segment. There will be more cars coming to support the fleet segment. So that's one aspect. The second part is that fleets can also provide a perception to the rest of the market. I mean, there's an importance if you as a customer actually see these electric vehicles on the road driving. You see them actually in everyday heavy-duty cycle, and people look at this and say, this is actually technology that's ready. I mean, if a Coca-Cola drives their vehicle, mission-critical trucks, or a FedEx, and uses electric technology, drivetrain technology, this seems to be robust technology, so maybe they take a second look. So that's why we think it's important to have these companies at the forefront to also kind of set a symbol and show some leadership.